Hello everyone. Um, where do I start? Because it's been over a year ago since I last posted about Fae Fables, and even though I planned like many video ideas I wanted to do, maybe this doesn't come as a surprise for you, but it's in the name. It's been a chaotic process, and really, I have not been that good yet at being consistent and making videos to update about the entire process. Um, yeah, I thought I'd make a video where we could dive into the character design of the game because much has happened over year, the year on its own, but through the process of creating the game, much has happened through creating the characters and everything that actually lives in the game. So I thought I'd take you along through a bit of a flip through of a sketchbook and yeah, take you along through the process and the nasty bits, the nice bits, and give you a bit of my thoughts on yeah what really happened through the process. Do know that I started out with absolutely no art style, so I had to really find a way to find it, and this happened through a lot of Pinterest boards and everything, which I might show in the future, but I'm not really sure yet. But I will take you with the sketches anyway. Yeah, so let's just dive into the sketchbook, and we enter the first page. Um, Really, I had no clue where to start. I began somewhere with I wanted to create some fake creatures and really make some yeah, nice Studio Ghibli-esque game that just would feel cozy but adventurous. So I just started out sketching a lot, and I'm a big fan of Ariachi, as you might have seen in a previous video. So I started just sketching a bit, like what kind of creatures you could find. So I had this little character here, the Mushroom Man. Yeah, and just really trying to find, yeah, how do I say, the kind of creature, like little root creatures, or here on the right, inspired by different plants. And this is something you might see through the entirety of the sketches, is because each fake creature, which is called a rumple, really has a feature of a plant in which they were created or born under. So that will be something that will be coming back. Here I tried to find the scale of the creatures, but in the end they got somewhat taller than in which they are sketched here. Now, in the following page, I had the idea of a potling, and I'm aware of the name already existing, but at the moment, or at the time, I didn't really have an idea of any other name. But this is basically a creature that would just live in a pot, and as it would grow bigger and bigger, it would just find another pot, just like yeah, what you call it, that little lobster creatures, hermietkreefjes in Dutch, where they would just find another pot. And yeah, I really love the way that when they get oversized and they just don't fit anymore, so they might put them on their head. And that way I just started experimenting. And this creature here, based on the dandelion, is also one of based from one of the creatures of Fantastic Beasts, which he carries in his pocket. Yeah. Now here I started to dive a little deeper into what the garden might look like, and more about the scale and everything of the creatures. Really just trying to get a good guess on how yeah they might look and live, and you can still see like there is no real art style yet, and you might find that through the process. This was a little sketch I did for Inktober, which I just made one sketch. Yeah, I'm not really good at following through such challenges. And here we come to a next page. Now, as you might see, I will blur out a few bits which are absolutely top secret. To be honest, I use this sketchbook like all the time for absolutely everything. So yeah, some things I just don't wish to share yet or share at all, so that's why they might be blurred out. Here I just really went to the body proportions, like are they small creatures with a bit of chubbiness to them, or a bit more humanoid? I wasn't really sure yet. So yeah, what to say about it? Yeah, I just started exploring a bit more, and here you see like the way Rumples got designed a bit with plants and the face shape, which is somewhat to the end result, but yeah, it has changed a bit over time. Let's see. And here you can see more of the skill bit. Here, like a rumple size to a hand. In the end, I decided to create a rumple which is the size of a human finger. Now, there are many human fingers and different sizes and everything, so they do vary a little bit in size, but that's basically the gist of it. Compared to Fire Spirit, Trash Creature I designed, which might come back later, and a fairy, which is not the same as a rumple, being a fake creature, but a fairy just being more the size of a fly or a mosquito, but I wasn't really sure about that yet. Yeah, so that's basically everything in this sketchbook. Over the last time I have used about, let's say 6, and started with the 7th sketchbook, in which I worked in Fae Fables all through September of 2023 to, yeah, to today actually. Yeah, so the next page I worked on a adventure where I wanted to do something with bees, but this is something that went on the back burner because it was too complicated and I wanted it to be more accessible for new players. So I just redid the entire adventure, tested some more, and yeah, got to some other ideas. But I basically, for this adventure, then I created the honeycomb golem, which was created from a queen bee that did not win in a beehive from the current queen, as they would fight over the power for the entire hive. And then they would be like sort of recycled into the honeycomb golem, which would guard the beehive from anyone intruding on stealing the honey or trying to hurt the entire hive. Yeah, and so here on the right I did a bit more about head sketches. This is for me the easiest way to really get a feeling for what the character would be like, mostly because of the plant features being most prominent on the head. Yeah. And here below you can also see several different designs, really finding a way of the proportions and perhaps like here the protective headwear, but also the different kinds of shapes and plants that might be used for the rumples. This one being a bit more goblin-esque, but yeah. This is a point where I started to get a bit more of a feel for what I wanted with the game and the characters in it. And here we went back to a little bit more of the humanoid-esque rumple design. If you might see, this might be a little bit reminding you of Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, which is why I didn't eventually go with the design, but I do actually like the way the shoulders, the chest, and the neck are covered in plants, and really the shape design of it. yeah, everything is basically more of a rough design. And then here on the right, some items that they might be carrying, and yeah, just really getting a feel for the way that they would live and create things in their environment to live their daily lives. And of course, Dobby is a free elf, a little bit of an inside joke when I just started sketching. Moving on to, like, there's a thick bit where I didn't do any character design, but here I started to go a bit more into body proportions and trying to find, still experiment with the design of the mushroom man you saw at first. Although I really did like the design options and variety of bodies through this cute style, I really wanted to incorporate a bit more of items, which players could gather throughout the game. So I decided to not go with this because the items that they would equip would look a bit bulky, and to be honest, that's not just the style that I wanted to go for with Fae Fables, so I decided to move from that eventually. But I do like the feeling and the cuteness of these creatures, so maybe I might use them some other time for another project or just a different creature within the game, but for now these designs are paused at the moment until further development. And here going more into that design of the creatures. This was a lovely post that a friend of mine did, Siva, and I really fell in love the way that the butt of the creature is really the dandelion and the wings keeping it up, but its head being so heavy that it just had to hang low. I'm really just in love with this character. And yeah, having a big belly for the design also, yeah, gives some cuteness to it. It has a bit of a Baymax vibe from Disney. Yeah, so I really just loved it. And yeah, I really loved the design also from the mushroom, so I started to just explore a bit more varieties in the kind of mushrooms that might come through the design. And here's some other things from other projects, which were also put on the back burner at the moment. Now, moving from this sketchbook, we are going to the third. So now we are at June 2024 to April 2025. And let's see what has been created then. For me, honest, is so fun to look through it because it just really takes me back to memory lane. Here I decided to really stay with the cute design, but go for a bit more of a nimble, thinner, cute design, which I also actually really love, but also decided not to go with any further. But just like the other design, I might decide to use them later again. And here on the right, this is really a bit more like the design I eventually went with, like having bigger shoulders or upper arms, a big chest going to a slim waist here in this design, and having bigger upper parts, and when the lower limbs would look like really call it, the twigs of plants, like being a bit more slim, a bit more scraggly, how do you call it? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, here going a bit back to the cute design. I really couldn't let it go at this stage. Like, I decided that I wasn't really going to do it, but there was still so much doubt in my mind about letting this go, because yeah, I was absolutely in love with the design. So but eventually yeah, just decided not to go with that. More of the cute designs, seeing the way eyes would be used, ears, whether they would have actual ears or noses, facial expressions, the way they would express themselves was a very big part of me. So I really started going into how could they express themselves without looking too human. I really wanted them to be feeling like something magical. So, and to be honest, although there are very magical things in the human day-to-day life, I really just decided that that wasn't really the route I wanted to go with. And going many pages ahead, we went back to a bit more of the humanoid style. Here again, looking a lot like Groot, but also like smaller creatures. Like, what if a hedgehog had like some kind of seed with eyes on top of it, protecting itself? Yeah, just finding some cute ways and designs for the creatures to adapt to the day-to-day life and possible threats of the world and being a tiny creature. Yes, and here going back to the cuter design, really trying to find a bit more of the shape. Like, I really love this design where it would just twist its neck and would grow smaller, but when it would have to look over something, they could just elongate that neck to really have like a giraffe's neck. And looking at pinecone designs, the way they had items here, also still being very cute. Here there's the design with the neck, but then with a flower around its neck, having different amounts of limbs, shapes for the heads, the way they would interpret the plants or be about living with them. And here really showing the size of the creature, like having a bit more bigger proportions from a very big head to a tiny body to comparison. And yes, really still playing with proportions here. And to be honest, as I go through this, sometimes I really don't know what to say about the process, because so much has happened since, and I'm really just trying to remember what happened. Now, this is actually a page I really love, because this is really how I wanted it to look in the end. Like having very big upper arms, upper legs, big heads with plant features, like this one being from tulips, kind of, and hyacinths, something like that, pine cones. And yeah, even this design you may have already seen on Instagram, which is one of the playable characters that people might be playing, which was already posted in a nice Christmas post. But yeah, really looking just big head, playing with, no longer really playing with the proportions, but more with how can a plant feature of this creature be something that shows their character and their emotions and things like that. Just really just exploring the feeling of that. Let's see. And here we're going to more of the smaller designs, really trying to find, like, if I wanted to create the mushroom creatures like in the cute form, or whether I wanted it to be in the final form I had decided. But I really decided not to go with this kind of design, but really more of this. Due to it being having a better silhouette and things like the basics of creating a character through the designing process and making sure that you can recognize this with just the silhouette. Here more designing of the mushroom character. I really love the way that the head of this mushroom man was created, having the rough top side of the mushroom and being some kind of hat or shading from the sun, which I really loved. Now let's see. And here I really wanted to play with proportions again, but then to make sure that I'm a bit more inclusive through body size. Like so far I had only created like the slim size of the rumples, but I really wanted to have like the cute chubby kind of fake creatures, which were most of the times watching movies and series, just loving the characters, the shape they had, the cuteness to them. Yeah, so I decided that I wanted to bring in more body proportions, which would have more variety in the way you could design your character. Now we're going to the last page of this book, which is some exploration of NPCs, characters again, but more into poses and the way they would express themselves, going into some illustrations, emotions, the objects they would carry. This is one character you might get to see more of later in the process, but and maybe perhaps even in this video. Yeah, but this is a lovely character called Oak, which would be the guide during the adventure for the players, so that the game master actually also has a character to play, and not only being able to lead the entire party to have absolutely amazing things, but actually be included in the party. And this brings us to the end of this sketchbook, and so far we now have 2 sketchbooks left, and this is in the time period of April 2025 to December 2025. And let's see, this one is also a bit further in the back, if I'm correct. Going through, yes, this is the stage that I absolutely loved, because here I could really dive into the character and feel of the player character. And this is Hub, which is a mushroom man, and I really love it when they have like the grumpy characters included in the party or adventure, which was actually just having a tiny heart but grumpy expression to them, or just being very kind. But that really depends to the players, whichever way they would like to play Hub, for example. And there will be more of Hub, because this is actually one of the designs I decided to go with. But that design process has been through the iPad and creating a more final look of the character. But that would come in another video. Now on the right, I really wanted to invite some more poses and perhaps some tropical designs of the characters, as to being an invitation to knowing that the Rumples and the locations where the adventure takes place is not the only place where Rumples are actually living, but that they are actually creatures that can be found worldwide, but adapting to their environment, like having the Flytrap Rumple or Mango, really things like that. And here I decided to go design a bit more, but I decided it looks too chicken, as you can see. And sometimes you can see the notes where I really wanted to find something else, but hadn't really found a way to do as such, because it's really just exploration and guessing through the process how I really wanted to do it, because sometimes I really don't feel like going into technical things in how the design really is created, but I just go through feel and trying different shapes to come to a different result. Here more designs, like on the right, having a Rumple being overgrown and them having to trim themselves in order to stay nice and groomed and maintained throughout. But yeah, of course you can have a Rumple that decides to be less maintaining to themselves, and they would just become like a bush depending on the kind of plant they were. And I really loved the idea of just having a walking bush with a very slim rumple being underneath there, much more like a cat having a lot of fur, and then when they get wet or groomed, then you can see how actually slim and agile they are built. Here's some more sketches about the garden, just a small sneak peek, whether they would use magic or mechanics to hide their way of living, really. Yeah, I really haven't decided how I wanted to go about with this, but I just really love the designs. I wanted to include it a bit as a teaser for you all. Now let's see to the following. I went with the head designs. As I previously stated, I really love just making rough sketches of the heads and really trying to find the kind of plant they would feature. So having broccoli and willows, flowers. I'm really trying to find the English words here for many plants. Beetroots, acorns, whatever you can really find. Yeah, this is like, I think, maybe my favorite stage of the creating process. Just creating the headshots and trying to show the character through them. Now, let's see. And here a more in-depth look on after the headshots, just really trying to find how they perhaps would be dressed. Like Ivy is a character which you can also play. I decided to go with further, which I would explore a bit more of the way they would dress themselves and yeah, really how they would move about and how their features might strengthen the character design actually. And some other designs trying to go with different face shapes or the way the hair would be integrated into the plant features, proportions. Somewhere on Pinterest I saw the lovely idea of fairies having like mermaid tails, and I really fell in love with, so I had to sketch it. And here below some facial expressions to really find a way to express their emotions through the facial expressions, of course. Yeah, this is really the moment that I started to be like, yeah, there's finally something I am happy with, and I would love to further explore design. And here even more, like having nimble, the wildflower or the grass kind being chaotic, having a smaller build being a bit more stout, having a belly, but also when they're smaller and a bit more chubby, for example, then the bigger upper limbs would just go over into the lower limbs, and even though the name being a little less nimble because of themselves being a bit more round. But perhaps I want to create some designs where they're just very, very round rumples that just would roll about through the game, which would actually be really funny. I actually might be doing that. And here going a bit more into the broccoli design, being very slim and elongated. Really finding again a different body proportion. Really like this design, but I haven't really thought out much yet any further of this. And we're going to the last page of this sketchbook, again skipping a lot of pages, going a bit more into head designs, taking inspiration from creators on Pinterest through facial expressions, hair designs. Yeah, really just finding new ways of incorporating plants. Like this is absolutely amazing. Willow having to be able to lift her hair in order to be able to walk or see, or just having short hair with like perhaps flowers or tropical flowers. Even though I really like the designs of many of these, I decided not to go with many of these, but perhaps they might come back soon or later in the future. So going from this sketchbook, we are moving to the very last. I actually gave myself a challenge to, how do you call it, use my old sketchbooks that I already bought. Yes, it's a very noble, so to say, challenge to just use what I already have. So filling my sketchbooks instead of just buying a new one over and over again. And that's why I actually managed to fill a lot of my sketchbooks. Now, here we're going a bit deeper into the design of Oak, actually. I had thought out more of the way I wanted to dress him, what kind of character he has, being more of a curious creature wanting to explore as much of the garden, being part the NPCs, being the player's guide, sorry. Really trying to find and hurry them into finding the next big adventure. Really going through different poses, the way he might act, think, facial expressions, lifting, perhaps how strong he is, and the kind of items and clothing he is actually wearing throughout his adventures. Now, moving further, we are going to the items actually that he has carrying with him, perhaps, like having a torch, rope, created from thread, like sewing thread, and a bag, of course, and perhaps a pin needle to fend off any dangers lurking about, like the house cat from the witch. Or very big birds and other hunting creatures that might become a problem through their adventures. And here we're going into more head and facial designs. I really had a lot of fun creating these facial expressions, and again, different kind of versions, like aloe vera version of a rumple, or more of a potato version, and I really love the potato version, so that's actually a design you might see in the coming future. But yeah, I really had a lot of fun here trying out the monkey method or the mask method, but really decided very quickly I would just go my own way and find my own expressions in the way that I really liked it. Let's see, going further, we have here we have another design, which is a clover, having like a big 4 clover around his neck, and the items they might carry, like having a teacup. Here the design of the teacup is a bit smaller than they would actually be compared to a rumple, so this would really just be more of a espresso cup, or perhaps a shot cup, being just very fancy, but creating for example, a card with a empty spool thread holder tied to a paperclip and the cup, and them being able to cart around berries, which they had gathered through their adventure. And let's see, here more designs, dandelion, rumple, the way they would go through different seasons, like after the yellow stage they would go to the fluffy white dandelions, in which you can just make wish, and then the previous stage, like being the yellow fluffy edible flower that you might actually smell instead of just inhaling a lot of seeds. And never being able to get them out of your nose. I'm totally not speaking out of experience here. And more items they might find, in which the bottleneck coming in the following pages. I really love the idea because, of course, there will be trash. Like, humans are alive in this world, and of course they will find things which might, oppress their way of living. And that really, I wanted to show that through the design of a bottleneck being broken and a rumple being born into it and actually not being able to get it off. So I decided to really just go into the design phase of how would that look, how would they live, perhaps how would it be broken, or how far could they break the bottleneck in order for the rumple to actually live with this piece of glass really around their body. Here I went more into the poses and expressions of rumples. With my base character, I basically use for everything because it's just the easiest way for me to do so, with the grassy hair and this facial expression. This was really the first character I came up with, and it really just stayed with me and really just became my go-to rumple to draw, really. And final, more poses with the same character. The way they would use a weapon, perhaps having a half part of a scissor as like a great sword that could swing around and cut down other plants they would gather, or fend off any predators they might find. Here going more into body proportions, more kind of weapons, facial expressions, and yeah, this is pretty much where I left off the sketching in my sketchbook. Now, the next bit really is just more creating in Procreate, and I am also a fan of continuing to draw in my sketchbook, but creating the final designs will be through Procreate and other editing software to digitalize, my apologies, is to eventually be drawn for in the book, which I hope to get out very soon, but so far is still in development. Yeah, so far this is everything I got on the sketchbook walkthrough and process. I hope you actually like going through the process and me just rambling about these imaginative fantasy creatures I created. If you liked it, please do leave a like on this video. I really would love that. And if you have any thoughts on creatures and designs, and you would like to be a part of the world building of Fae Fables and the Rumples, and perhaps the way they live, do leave a comment down below, and I would love to see what you would think and come up with. And perhaps if you made a character that would be a Rumple, what would they be? How would they look? How would they live? And what kind of items would they gather and take with them on their adventures? Yeah, so again, thank you very much for watching me rambling on, and hopefully I'll be a bit more consistent with creating videos, but yeah, I'm keeping my own fingers crossed because I'm not really certain yet. And yeah, thank you for watching, and see you till the next time.